the age of 41, Jane Austen took her last breath, but not before gifting the world with her brilliant mind and soul. Over the course of her life, she published 4 books anonymously. Her last 2 books, including Persuasion, were published by her older brother Henry after her death. Actually, Jane had 6 brothers and 1 sister, yet most of her protagonists were from sister-heavy households. Maybe projecting much? Throughout her works, Austen became known for her free, indirect discourse writing style, where the narrator of the story narrates similarly to how the protagonist thinks. This leads to a merging of the two in the reader's mind. In Persuasion, we are introduced to the aristocratic family of the Elliots. Sir Walter Elliot is the prideful father, Elizabeth the prized and beautiful daughter, the posh Mary Elliot, and Anne Elliot, the intelligent yet humble protagonist. The story begins with Sir Walter Elliot finally agreeing to rent out his prized Kellynch Hall after much persuading from Anne, Elizabeth, and their friends. The decision was made that a Navy Admiral Croft would take care of the home while the Elliots moved to Bath. While her father and sister move to Bath, Anne stays behind to visit her younger sister Mary at Uppercross Manor. While in Uppercross, Anne begins to have run-ins with her ex-fiancé, Captain Wentworth. Because he is the brother of Mrs. Croft, the engagement between Anne and Frederick Wentworth came to an unfortunate close because Lady Russell, Anne's one true friend, had persuaded Anne to call off the engagement. To both Anne's dismay and fortune, Captain Wentworth charms his way into the social group containing Anne, Mary, her husband Charles, and Charles's sisters Henrietta and Louisa. The group takes a trip to the town of Lyme. Tension between Anne and Wentworth builds between them as Wentworth starts to show interest in the Musgrove sister, Louisa. Louisa was a bit too silly and too desperate to attract Wentworth, and so when a fun attempt to jump into Frederick's arms turns into her unconscious on the ground, the party goes their separate ways. When Anne goes to her new home in Bath, she encounters William Elliot living with them. She had not been introduced to him prior, but she recognized him as a man she locked eyes with in Lyme that made her heart flutter. After a while at Bath, Anne receives a letter from Mary that tells her that Louisa and the man who helped her recover, Captain Benwick, were engaged. When Captain Wentworth's courtship ended, Anne began to be courted by Mr. Elliot, her cousin. Wentworth becomes increasingly jealous. Maybe. That's just a hope, a dream of Anne's, for now. Is there more to Mr. Elliot? Who will she pick? To finish those questions, you'll have to read for yourself. Why should you endeavor into the novel Persuasion? Well, the literary merit of Jane Austen's Persuasion emits from its pages and entices the hearts of its readers. This literary merit is shown through the complex plot structure Austen uses. While examining the structure, it becomes apparent that it closely resembles that of modern romance novels. Anne and Captain Wentworth meet again after 8 years and begin an elaborate dance between their feelings. As Frederick Wentworth worms his way into the social group with Anne, Anne's feelings of love for him bob to the surface. But every time Anne observes Captain Wentworth and Louisa in their get-togethers or walks, her hopes and heart sink back down. Her feelings float back and forth before ending happily. Jane Austen popularized this romantic plot structure. The popularity of Persuasion played a crucial role in the development of romances, and upon knowing this, the reader takes away a lasting aesthetic impression of the story, developing its literary worth. To further prove the literary genius of Persuasion, Austen dives into family structures and showcases the complex familial relationships through the Elliot family's dynamics and shortcomings. After the death of Mrs. Elliot, his wife, Sir Elliot, falls into debt, but is insistent on maintaining his social standing instead of relieving his dues because of his vain and egotistical personality. Sir Elliot's ego leads to the unfair treatment of his daughters Elizabeth, Anne, and Mary. Elizabeth is beautiful and sociable, so he is Elliot's favorite. Mary gave up her higher baronetcy to marry into the Musgroves family, which Sir Elliot looks down on. Anne does not possess the beauty of her father, and she grew out of her visual prime very quickly, which was the reason behind Sir Elliot's loss of hope for her future. Both Mary and Elizabeth develop an ego similar to their father, which harms their other relationships in their lives. Sir Elliot's mistreatment of Anne affects her social life, as she relies solely on Lady Russell for support. This reliance allows Lady Russell to control Anne's love life and end her engagement to Captain Wentworth. Pride is a universal human trait, and Sir Elliot's excessive pride and ego negatively impacted his loved one's character development. As readers reflect on their pride and its effects, they come to appreciate the literary merit of Persuasion. The novel uncovers more layers of literary merit through its unexpected narration style. Jane Austen's use of a free, indirect writing style that she's known for defies the typical expectations of objective third-person narration. Instead, Austen adopts a unique narrative voice that aligns with Anne's perspective, offering insight into her thoughts and motivations surrounding Captain Wentworth without the use of she thought. More of the literary merit in Persuasion shines through the nuanced and indistinct conflicts. With her focus on character development, Austen avoids the notion of right or wrong. Instead, conflicts arise from different goals, rather than conflicting morals. For instance, Anne and Louisa Musgrove's conflict revolves around their shared affections for Captain Wentworth. Without a clear-cut evil present, Persuasion demands readers to form their own perspectives and make their own judgments, further cementing Persuasion's literary merit.